9 o'clock. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, we'll call this regular meeting of the Houston County Board to order. And the first item of business is the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda. Further discussion? Otherwise, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item of business is the approval of the previous minutes from the board meeting April 6th of 2021. Did everybody get a chance to read those?
I'll move to approve.
I'll
second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the previous minutes. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item of business is public comment. Do we have any public comment? Apparently not. Hearing none, let's see. John's here. Hearing none, we'll move on to the COVID-19 update from Mr. Puglisi.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
A couple of things that we wanted to touch base on today were, as it relates to the vaccine program in Houston County. Last week, we started to see a bit of a change. For the first time, we did not fill one of our clinics. I've been in front of you a number of times and said that we've consistently seen much greater demand than we have supply for the vaccine. And last week for our Moderna vaccine, which is a 2-shot cycle, we were not able to fill all of the appointments that we had. As a result, we're carrying those Moderna doses forward into this week. Friday, we will have, Friday afternoon, we have a first dose clinic scheduled, and we have approximately 170 doses for that clinic. On the other side of the equation, there was a lot of interest and demand for Johnson & Johnson last week, and it was the first time we had Johnson & Johnson to give, and that clinic filled up in record time with people who were waiting for more to come. And so it was interesting to see that, perhaps the population is shifting a bit, and our strategy will need to shift with it. Over the last couple of days, subsequent to all of this, we've seen in the news some concerns about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And just this morning, we received news from MDH that all Johnson & Johnson vaccine is being put on pause. And in fact, if there are any Johnson & Johnson clinics that are scheduled, they need to be canceled. Fortunately for us, we didn't have any Johnson & Johnson for this week, and so we don't have any clinics that we need to cancel. I think the bottom line with this is that there appears to be interest in a one-shot, one-and-done kind of approach to this. But I think what we're seeing is, at the very least, it will be quite some time before we in Houston County have Johnson & Johnson available to distribute again. So our message has been, whenever we have the opportunity to say so, if you're offered a vaccine, you should take it. And so if people are still wanting to be vaccinated, Moderna is still available. We have, as I mentioned earlier, clinics scheduled for this Friday. And I believe as of now, there's still some slots available for that Friday afternoon vaccine clinic. Heather, do you want to add anything?
No, sorry, I was late. I apologize. I don't have anything additional to add to that. Hopefully we can continue to offer Moderna, even though in the absence of the J&J, and people take advantage of that. That's what we encourage. So if there are any questions, anytime, let me know.
One thing I'll say too is I really appreciate the team we're working with here. We've been what I feel is pretty nimble in responding to changing circumstances, and circumstances are changing again. And we're seeing, we maybe are getting to the end of the population that was very, very eager to get a vaccine. And so our strategy as a public health entity needs to adapt to that. Our bottom line goal is to reach a level that can be considered herd immunity. Because at a level of herd immunity, then those who can't get a vaccine are protected as well. And you really kind of choke off the virus at that point. So we are not there. We continue to have a high rate of vaccination. We're in we've consistently been in the top 10. And also we're really encouraged that we have a very high rate of people who are over 65 who are vaccinated. I think yesterday it was at 93% of that population in Houston County is vaccinated. So that's kind of our way forward. I don't have a real specific strategy. There's things that are changing as we speak. And so, as we learn more about Johnson & Johnson and what our next steps should be, we'll be bringing that forward both to the board and also to the community so that we can continue to move forward. Any questions?
Good.
Wow, that might be the first time. Maybe we've reached saturation in the discussion as well. So.
No, please keep it up. Yes.
Well, yeah, I still continue to get compliments, and I'm supposed to pass on, and I try to do that too. That you guys are doing a good job over there in the clinics. So,
well, we appreciate that, and it's our staff, it's our partners, it's community partners, it's volunteers. It's really been an outstanding effort to get to where we are, and I'm grateful, and we say thank you as well.
Good team leadership.
Yep.
Anything else?
And the community does appreciate it. Everybody that comes out after having gotten their shots says it's really a well-run, smooth operation as far as in, shot, out, done. So they think everybody's happy with the way it's going.
Yeah, I got my shot last Thursday and went smooth, but she wouldn't give it to me in my butt.
I don't blame her a bit.
Okay.
Get out of here.
I hope that's in the minutes.
Yeah,
yeah, strike that.
Like that.
get that out of the minutes.
On our agenda, we're supposed to have a 9:30 closed session, only 10 after, so we can move to the consent agenda if you'd like and do that.
Yes.
One item on the consent, any discussion on the consent agenda?
I have a couple questions on a couple line items.
Do you want to move them out of the consent and into the action, or just discuss them now?
We could discuss them now if that's all right. I mean, it's no big deal. Just a couple questions I want answered.
Okay.
Question number, line item number 2 was to conduct the Vanguard, to have them come in and do staff training. What with Cindy Criswell, is she doing training, or did we hire her and paid her $35 an hour to train? Is that going on or not, or?
Yeah, I can answer that. This is Luke.
Yep.
Yeah, Cindy has been doing a lot of the training in the office. The Vanguard is more for the quintile, starting the quintile with our new appraisers to get them all on the same page. So it'll kind of be a joint effort between Vanguard and Cindy. Vanguard will handle most of the in the field with the appraisers, showing them how to grade, how to condition, what to look for building materials and that kind of stuff on properties. And then we can utilize Vanguard more in the field. And then when they come back to the office to work on entering and that part of it, Cindy will be able to help them with that part of it more. So it'll just kind of really get their training advanced fast that way with the joint effort. So that was the reason for Vanguard for the field appraisal type stuff and Cindy for in the office.
Okay.
Thank you. On line item number 5, I would just like to know who the non-representative pay grids are, or who's in that category.
Did you get a copy of that
It
list?
should have been in your packet.
Well, I didn't print all the packet out, I guess, so.
I never do either.
Me neither.
The non-represented pay grids cover the nurses. It covers the administrative department heads who are not part of MAPE, which are Carol, myself, Andy. It covers Andy's 2 IT people. It also covers the I think that's
And
Carol.
Sue-
Did I miss anybody off the top of my head? I think that's pretty much who that covers on. Oh, and also the assistant county attorney.
Right.
The pay grid also has a section for the employees who are 67-day employees, as well as drop site supervisors.
Right. These are considered confidential employees. We did have quite a discussion about that. And whether we should go with the same as the unions, the 2.5% increase, or the other suggestion Eric had mentioned, more fair would be $1 an hour increase across the board for each of these employees. And when we left the meeting last Thursday, we went with the 2.5, but we had more discussion after this was put on the agenda. So I don't know if Eric wants to bring up anything, or if we should, or what.
Well, we left it with the 2.5, and then there was some discussion afterwards.
Yeah.
And I guess we changed it. So
Yeah.
I just feel that the $1 an hour is more of a fair way to institute this because of the gap between the higher end and the lower end, and help shrink the gap a little bit. And a $1 an hour is a good raise too. So
Yeah, the grid in front of you, we had, so there's been a couple of, that grid was sent forth before, I think $1 an hour across the board. So what you have in front of you, I don't want to confuse a hybrid, which was 2.5% for the confidential and the nurses, and $1 an hour to try to pick up the growing gap for the 67-day and the temporary employees. So it was a hybrid of the two. So that's what's in your packet.
It's not a hybrid, it's across the board, correct?
No, it reflects both. It's a hybrid.
So we're approving a 2.5 for the,
I mean, what I was told, what I, based on my last conversation, which then I saw the text after that, and that I sent this forward, was 2.5% for the confidentials and the nurses. That kept them at parity with their counterparts, and then $1 an hour for the 67-day and the drop site, which would have given them a higher percent.
I think we had a
raise.
discussion that we had to do one or the other. The 2.5, wait for the comp study, or $1 for everybody, not doing a hybrid.
No, I just acted off the last conversation I had.
With-
So it, and
what was that last conversation you had with? I mean, I'm confused now, I guess, so maybe we should,
it is strictly up to you folks if you want to change it to $1 an hour across the board. I'm just explaining what's in the packet was based on, we came out of committee, it was at 2.5.
Yes.
I got, then thereafter, there was a conversation with Commissioner Walter that felt that we should accept your proposal for $1 an hour for the lower paid, lower wages.
No, I
That's
thought
what I did.
really wanted it $1 an hour across the board. It would be
So you can do that. I'm just explaining what's in your packet. That's all.
well, this is important to get this right, so we're all on the same page, and this doesn't look good here. So, I mean,
we have to do one or the other. We across the board, 2.5 or the $1 an hour.
I think we should, we're having this should be pulled for action item and have our debate there and not in the consent agenda.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yes. Consent agenda number 5 is moved to the action items.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with removing number 5.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the action item or on the consent agenda? Sorry.
Well, I think we should approve all the action items.
Eventually.
That won't work.
Any further discussion? Otherwise, I'll call the question. We'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Well, by my clock, it's 18 after. I suppose we could do the first action item while we're waiting for the 9:30 closed session. That being, consider the approving of the settlement agreement with Cruco Companies LLC. Are you there, Aaron? There you are.
Good morning, Commissioners. As instructed by the board, Attorney Squires worked with the Cruco's attorneys to prepare the consented or the settlement agreement that was provided in your packets. Attorney Squires did not feel he needed to participate in today's action. He's just looking for the approved agreement to be provided to him. Should the board move to approve it?
Is this is what we're presenting to Cruco's? They have not approved it themselves yet, or have they?
I believe it was.
Looks like it was
signed and it needed to be countersigned by the county.
Okay. So they are willing to get the conditional use permit before the end of the year, using the 2 acres presently until the conditional use permit comes forth.
I'll make a motion to approve the settlement agreement with Crucos.
I'll second it.
Made and seconded. Further discussion. Dewey?
Yes, just to clarify if they do not apply before the end of the year, or if they are denied the conditional use, it said something about going back to non-conforming. Can you explain that to me?
I am not able to explain that. I don't understand how it could ever meet that status as the agreement's written out. But that is what the agreement says. And actually, let me clarify. If they don't apply, I believe it doesn't revert to anything. So I believe that only kicks in if they apply and are denied.
Thank you.
Correct. If they apply and are denied through the process of getting a conditional use permit, they still get to operate the 2 acres as was designated in 2008 and 2015 that was a non-conforming mine, legal non-conforming mine.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but I just want to.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Number 2 in the action items is consider accepting the airport coronavirus response grant program. That would be you, Brian.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. So this is a Coronavirus Response Relief Supplemental Appropriation Act funding in the amount of $9,000 for airport operations and expenses. This is a grant that is coming to us. It's actually been, all the paperwork's been done up to this point by the FAA and MnDOT Aeronautics. We didn't apply for it. They just said this grant's available for you. If you want to approve and accept it, we have this $9,000. The specifics of how this will be utilized at the airport is undetermined. We know that it's toward the operational expense at the airport. Good for 4 years, so it's not necessarily expenses that's going to be occurred here in the next few months or even in 2020. We have a couple years to use it. How this is going to relate with our other airport maintenance funding, I don't know yet. This is 100% cost coverage versus some of our other stuff has a local participation. So hopefully this will use to help pick up some of the local costs, and that'll be worked out here as we go forward. But essentially $9,000 that we can use toward the airport. So there's no reason I see to not approve this grant acceptance.
That's a one-time 9,000.
Yes.
Which we have to use over 4 years?
It's over 4 years, and this is the part that we need to kind of figure it out how it's going to work out. So with the previous CARES Act money they went toward the airport, the state required that money kind of all got spent first before we started spending the state money. It created some headaches. We didn't get the full benefit of that money. So even though that funding was allowed to be used over 4 years, it got spent instantly, essentially. This is that same type of deal where depending on how the state allows us to spend it, it might get spent really quickly. It might get drug out over 4 years. So we'll utilize it the way that we can to use this money in a way that we have the least cost to the county. So if we can use this over a couple of years versus having this be the very first money spent, that's how we'll do it. So, but that'll be worked out as we determine what MnDOT Aeronautics will allow us to do.
It's all based on eligibility.
Yeah.
So what we have here is we have 2 different funding sources that are eligible for the same items. And if you, some of the items with this one funding source only allows a certain percentage to be covered with that funding source. The rest becomes local money. If we can use this to cover the local money portion and use both funding sources together, we might get 100% coverage for a much larger amount of projects or maintenance work. So
I'll make a motion to approve accepting the grant for the, airport coronavirus response?
yes.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. We got time to get action item number 3 in. That's consider awarding the low bid to Zinke Incorporated in the amount of $75,434.50 for the 2021 water main improvements project.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion. Now that, just so we understand, that's the construction. It does not include the engineering. The actual project with engineering is going to be up in that $100,000 bracket. But anything else? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. It's nice to see something come in at lower than what we thought it was going to cost. Little change of pace.
Yep. Thank you.
So in 3 minutes, do you think we can handle the chicken thing, or should we move to the public hearing?
That shouldn't take too long.
Action item 4 is consider approving the letter to Clean Chickens Company. Allison.
That must
Yeah.
be a
So just to give a little bit of background on this, meat processing in Houston County, there is a shortage of it, and we have a lot of farmers telling us we need more, especially for chickens. So in the state of Minnesota, there isn't anywhere where you can get your chickens USDA certified. And we do have a handful of farmers in Houston County who do sell chickens. And if they're not USDA certified, they cannot sell them across state lines, like to Wisconsin or Iowa. So this is a service that we talk about a lot in our EDA meetings and something that is really needed. The owner of a company called Clean Chickens Company actually has a mobile slaughtering unit, and several farmers are booked with him so that he can come this summer. They slaughter the chickens right there on the farm, just like a farmer would, but because he is USDA certified, if he's able to come, then the chickens will be able to be sold across state lines. And he likes a letter from the county before coming. And so the EDA board is recommending that you commissioners approve this letter so he can come and help our farmers with their chicken slaughtering.
I make a motion we approve this letter.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion. My only question is, if we have a brick and mortar facility that comes in to do slaughtering and processing and whatnot, there's a conditional use permit and requirements as far as what they do. Does the USDA, if you're a certified USDA processor, does that cover all the things like that we as the county would require for in a cup situation? I mean, we can't give this guy a cup because he's going to all these different places. But does the USDA cover all the criteria as far as cleaning and disposing of things and whatnot? Or is that, are we just given a carte blanche here?
And then some. They cover it all. They have strict rules and guidelines to go by. And the thing is, we don't have any brick and mortar that does this processing for chickens. So I don't see it as an issue at this time.
He is USDA certified, and they are required to follow all county, state, and federal rules, of course.
Well, they have to have their chickens processed where there's a USDA inspector. Otherwise, they can't sell it anywhere except to local people.
Right.
That's
True.
why
Within the state of Minnesota. True.
there's got to be an inspector from the USDA from the state of Minnesota at the plant or wherever they're being butchered, ordinary for it to be sold over the counter.
And this all takes place on the different farms that they go to.
Yep.
Right. He'll be going to like at least 5 different farms, and he'll just be there for a day or two at each farm, and then he'll be leaving after that.
Is
If we
there,
have door-to-door salespeople come to the county, they have to report and get a permit. I mean, this is the same kind of a deal or not? He gets the letter, he can just come and go as he pleases, doesn't have to report or anything. Am I right?
He's on his own free will where he goes and what he does, but he's got to certify them all USDA inspected. And they got to get a tax number and all that. And some counties and some townships, they got to get a commercial license or some kind of a license to sell chicken. It varies in different townships, different counties. They have a lot of that up there with the Amish. A lot of the Amish take all their chickens to a factory and they hire one inspector to come there and do them all right there. They got all kinds of different ways.
Okay.
my thought is there a consideration of the disposal, proper disposal? Has that become a health issue for the county?
Maybe with the ones on the farm, but the ones at the plants, they have rendering trucks. On the farm, I can't answer that one, do we?
On the farm, he has his own containment tank, and he has to follow the USDA rules on that. So I'm not afraid of how this is going to be conducted. This guy sounds like he's legitimate businessman who has to follow the USDA guidelines.
And if he doesn't come, the farmers will just be slaughtering their own like usual.
Right.
I mean, the chickens will be slaughtered on the farm either way, and farmers are able to do their own slaughtering on their own farm. It's just that then they'll only be able to sell them in Minnesota. So this
Right.
will happen either way.
Right. It happens already with individual farmers doing their own slaughtering right on their own farm. So
The discussion. I guess my only concern is even door-to-door salesmen require a permit. Once we give him approval, he doesn't need a permit or anything. He just can come and go as he pleases. So I'm a little concerned in that regard. And then anybody else that wants to start a chicken business can do it too, or slaughtering business. Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
yes.
District 3,
No.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1. We will now move back to our 9:30 closed session for labor negotiations. Pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.03 subdivision 1B. So, Donna, are you moving everybody to the closet?
I am prepared. Do you need a motion to move into the?
We
I'll
do
make
need-
a motion
Okay.
to move into closed session.
Yeah, I am prepared to do it when you're done.
Who seconded the motion?
I did.
Greg seconded the motion. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
So we are moving to closed session, Donna. If you can open, we're out of closed session. And Donna, can you bring everybody out of the closet that's still around?
I will. Okay, they should be all there now.
I'll make a motion to go into regular board meeting.
I'll second it.
All right, motion made and seconded to return to a regular board meetings.
At 10:51, in case you need the time.
At 10:51. And we will vote by roll. Are you there, Allison?
Yep, and I got the time, 10:51. Thank you. District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
We're back in regular session after having had a closed session with regard to labor or wage issues, and looked at just preliminary information, nothing beyond.
No action
No
was
action.
taken.
So the next item of business is the action item number 5 with regard to the represented pay grid decision that we moved from the consent agenda.
I think we should table this till the next meeting. Sorry for the confusion. Maybe we should have another personnel committee meeting to get this right.
And we'll provide you with an updated grid reflecting any change.
I agree with Eric.
We're tabling the non-represented pay grid until the next regular meeting. It should be on the 27th.
Yes.
Everybody okay with that? We'll just do that by consensus.
Yes.
All right. Discussion items. We'll move back to you going first, Teresa.
Wow, I'm hardly prepared. I only had one major meeting this week, WinLAC, and that was Monday morning. And right now we're in the process of putting out a RFP for a consultant, which is required by Bowser to get the money and put the plan into work. So I will miss the next WinLAC meeting, but I will update Dewey, my alternate, to sit in on that one.
Okay.
Nothing, just our committee meeting, road bans came off today. And townships can implement their own road bans depending on the condition of their roads, I guess, is what Brian said. And that's all I have.
Okay. Eric, I see you pick your picture's the next one on my screen.
Well, yeah, Teresa touched on the land use committee meeting this morning. There was some discussion on E911 addresses in Reno, and Tammy and Eric have been touching on that, working on that, getting those descriptions corrected. So it looks like to me that the work is in progress and trying to resolve some of those issues. Discussion came up from Aaron about the Ogdenell situation. There's some issues still to be resolved on that. They did get their permit for their building of their house, but there's other issues. I understand, Bob, you've been talking to Brian about cleaning out some of that ditch that was that dry run there and then Brian's thinking he could use some of that for that bridge project. So that's a good idea to try to make a win-win situation there. And then there was some discussion on these variances that are coming up and the possibility of trying to change the setback rules. There's only been one discussion had on that as far as the planning commission. I think it's something we still need to pursue further and get that setback change.
Mm-hmm.
That would eliminate a lot of these variance issues. Um, and you've all seen my email that I sent out last night, just to explain my side of things. So hopefully you all read that.
I have not read it because my Chrome quit working yesterday, and I had to wait until this morning to see Andy to get it fixed. So I'm not familiar, but I'll read it now that he fixed it.
Okay. That's all I got.
Greg, what do you got?
Okay. Well, we had a highway department building on Friday, and we had some discussions there about that Rogish had some buildings on our land, and we wanted to fill it in and do some different stuff there. And we negotiated a deal with Rogish that there was 2 buildings he wanted torn down and replaced. And we went with replacing 1 building, and that way we got our land all back with no buildings on it, no garden on it. And I think it's going to be a better deal. We had to pay $2,000 towards the building, but we'll save probably $3,500 to $4,000 on hauling out the fill. So it's kind of an even swap. Go ahead, Bob.
Which buildings are you talking about?
Down there in the corner of Rogish's lot that comes right up to the county shop there.
Yeah.
The far southeast corner.
There's two little garden sheds there, Bob, that were on the county line.
Okay.
Or on the property line, I should say. And this is one of these issues that came up because when we made that purchase from the Rogish property, I didn't realize that there was a verbal agreement made to let that homeowner keep his garden on that spot and restore his sheds. That was never brought up when we made the purchase agreement, so it was kind of
the sheds were never talked about. The garden was talked about. The old guy can keep his garden until he dies or whatever. The sheds were never talked about because I don't think they were considered in the property.
Well, this is the issue we had, that there was some verbal agreement made that none of, at least I didn't as a board member, know about this. So it was never brought up when we had our final vote on purchasing the property. So, I mean, we had to deal with it. I mean, we're trying to be neighborly with the landowner, and so we came up with a compromise to try to work it out. But I would like to see in the future, if there's any verbal agreements made, that it would be shared with the rest of the board.
Well, the garden was the only thing that ever was discussed as far as letting the old guy keep the garden until he quit gardening. The sheds were never talked about because they were never considered to be in the property. I guess the line changed from what I was showing.
No, the line went right through the 2 garden sheds, right down the middle of them.
Right.
That's what changed. I mean, they didn't know. They thought the sheds were right on the edge of the property, but halfway's in ours.
All right. Because they were never talked about, and we never had a survey that showed that. The only thing that I ever agreed with him on was the old boy could keep the garden until he was done.
Well, that would have been appropriate to share that with the rest of us. That was even a verbal agreement.
And I guess I don't remember not sharing it either, but all right.
Well, it don't matter. It's in the past, so we just got it. I think we got it right now, and we shouldn't have any troubles.
Okay.
The lines, everything's on their side of their property.
It's all going to be moved back. Everything's going to be off our property. The garden, the sheds, everything's going to be moved back. So.
Didn't mean to cut you off, Greg. I just wanted to get an answer to that before I moved on. All right, sorry.
No problem. Let's see, I had a SEMCAC meeting last night. That all is going real good. Funding's doing good. And I guess the only other thing is we gotta get those ordinance changed. So that's all for me.
Dewey?
Well, I attended a meeting yesterday on the Southeast Minnesota Communication Board, and a lot of discussion about needing some updated equipment for dealing with southeastern Minnesota and central Minnesota, about 12 county upgrading our armor system. A little bit of new information. I guess I'm not familiar with all the background of that, but that's coming forward. This morning at our community service committee, I was concerned that when our veterans office, Bob at the veterans office, commented that the extension people are locking the door at 2:30 because they were directed from up above. And that kind of cuts into the service that he can provide to our veterans. So I don't know what we can do as a board, or do we send a letter to the extension office? Or I guess that was one of the things I didn't like to hear, because that's an important moment we need to take care of. And that was kind of the two things that I came up with.
Dewey, on that veterans thing, there was some miscommunication by extension on that. And so that's not a done deal as far as being closed at 2:30. Extension made a presumption that they shouldn't have, so that's going to go back to talks and try to iron it out.
Okay, so is that part of the personnel committee, or would that be the buildings? Or
Well, that was we're on the extension. Teresa and I are on the extension committee, and I said that if it's been okayed by the veterans, it's fine with me. If everybody's okay with it, I'm on board. I mean, I'm not. That's up to them. But then it got relayed afterwards that, oh, I guess not. It hasn't been talked with Rob, so.
Yeah, exactly.
So now they're going to back and try to work things out. So it's in the works. It's being talked about.
Thank you.
From that meeting this morning.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else to it?
That's it. Thank you.
Another thing that was brought up at that meeting this morning was that in the facility, they have a camera system that they use when they interview children. Under certain circumstances that there's a problem. And that system is not working. And they need to get that fixed, because it's very sensitive information, and it's necessary for the county attorney and possibly the sheriff to have the information, and they need to get that updated. So he's working with Andy on finding out what they could do to that. And I'm hoping that there's a possibility that we could use some of that extra COVID money to pay for this as a benefit as far as the public is concerned. Otherwise, the only other meeting that I had, I wanted to mention, in going through the vouchers that I get sent on a weekly basis, I saw there's one in there to Mayo Clinic for autopsy. Carolyn informed me that we're obligated to provide the autopsy service to the residents of Houston County if there's a specialty case or any other kind of case. But we pay them $57,633 for the autopsy service. And my question was, how many autopsies do they do and whatnot? So they were going to get that information for me, but otherwise we are obligated to do it. And there's not too many places that can do that kind of stuff for us. So in that regard. And then we all heard John's report, because he was reporting to us at the meeting this morning, the community services meeting, basically the same thing as far as how how that's going. So I don't have anything else to report.
Speaking of vouchers, I noticed one of them too for meals for 1 week was pretty excessive for the jail for not having that many people.
Right.
Like over 1,000 something for a week.
The problem that we run into with the jail meals is that the fewer inmates they are, the higher the cost of the meal.
Mhm.
It gets adjusted, like, I don't know where exactly the break is, but it could be 16 or 15. Under 15, we pay $4 a meal. Over 15, we pay, $3 a meal.
I thought maybe they're having steak 3 times a day.
No, they, well, I think it's the company's, kind of way of keeping their
Minimum charge, yeah.
level of
It
fees.
seemed a little excessive is all, but
Yeah.
I got a
That's-
question. Go ahead, Carol.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that's the way the contract is set.
So, Bob or Tess, where are we at on working out bids for them steps on the courthouse?
Brian has reviewed, Tess has got an engineer that she's talking to about putting together a set of specifications for concrete steps so that everybody's got the same spec. I haven't gotten the answer back yet because she hasn't gotten it back yet from the engineer on how much it would cost for the design.
So we're going to hire an engineer to do bids on this for these steps, or
An engineer to come up with a design so that it's uniform.
okay.
As they call it, the footings and the steps and what it's going to take. That's still subject to approval of the board, of course, but I don't think we can take those steps and say, well, request for a proposal and what are you going to do? And we need some kind of an answer as far as what our expectation is. If you don't agree, say so. We will cancel that and just have people give us a price and not know what it's going to be.
We should have information to you next week.
Hello.
Brian Pogozinski and I met, and Brian, and I agreed with him. This was the suggestion is that we have one common set of proposals that everybody bids on. I mean, one common set of specs, pardon me, that everybody bids on. And so I should have information as to what that would be if that's the route we're going to go then. For next.
So are we going to ask the engineer, this is what we want to see in the specs, or is the engineer going to give us his advice on what should be in the specs?
What should be in the specs for concrete steps?
Okay, so it'll be the engineer's suggestion.
What's required for that type of concrete steps so that they are properly reinforced with the appropriate re-rod now.
Right, but we're going to rely on the engineer's suggestions for that, or are you going to?
Then we send that, if you agree that we'd have the engineer do that, and I think the cost won't be that high to get those drawn out. I'm hoping it would come in very reasonable. Then we will have send that out to see if we can get quotes on how much it would cost to have those steps done then, to have them poured.
So couldn't Brian or Justin or any of them do any kind of engineering for that?
It's a
Brian
structure.
would have to speak to that, but he didn't feel that, he thought this was the best route to go. I agreed with him, so.
So what is this engineer going to cost anyhow?
Well, that's what I'm coming back to the board. I'll give you that information before we do that. And that would be, I should have that information for you by your next meeting, Commissioner.
We are not committed to pay anything until we have approval from the board.
Right.
Another thing, I was approached when I was up in Caledonia at a business. Someone came up to me and said that they were in the office on Good Friday, and I said, well, we were closed Good Friday. Well, the door was open and we were looking around and nobody was there. Nobody was home. So I was just wondering what the door was open or.
Yes, I got a text from Donna on that. The door was open and unlocked. We got it relocked, and I think all the tweaks worked out with the computer system for the timing on everything.
Was this because of the new door or what?
Well, new door, and also this total, we hadn't put all of the, I guess all of the holidays hadn't been set into the system yet, but they are now. We've double checked that.
Okay.
I never heard about that.
Nope.
Well, I haven't heard
right
about
away.
it either. I haven't heard about it either until this person said to me, it was kind of weird that we walked in and there was nobody there.
Yeah.
I said, well, it was supposed to be closed as far as I know. So,
Yeah. So it was reported, and Andy popped over and took care of the reprogramming for us. Like I said, I was up in the cities. I couldn't do too much about that. And then we've double checked the holiday schedule and make sure everything with this new system is where it should be on the programming.
Good.
Computers are only as good as what we put into them, and we must have missed a day.
So who was in charge of, I'd come up to the commissioner's room to look this over for getting a wheelchair up on the ramp there, putting in a ramp? I would like to come up there with my walker and see what should be the route that we could do something. Who's in charge of that?
I am. My office is. We have a lift. We are waiting. Commissioner Burns and Greg Olson and Mike Miners and I met with one of the companies for a lift to try to have it fit in and see what we can do. And we're waiting for the final cost on that. And we should be able to pull Craig through Sentence to Serve so that he can pull the platform out further. He's the one that built the platform. Pull it out. We ought to be able to use the existing desks that are there. There is a lift system, Commissioner, that would accommodate a walker or a wheelchair that meets all the safety criteria, and we believe that will work, and we're getting the final quotes on that and be able to put that in.
What is the cost of that?
It's going to be roughly around $30,000 for a lift. Otherwise, a ramp, and ADA, once you do ADA right, ADA is there for and works well then for everybody. The issue is having a ramp. The ramp, because of the ADA requirements, would have to come way out into the gallery area. Also, we just think this is the safest for everyone, and it would be a nice permanent structure that will work well going forward for the county for many years.
And once again, once we have the prices, that comes back to the board for approval. It isn't something that's set in stone to do.
No.
Have board approval to do it. But until we've got, because it's under $50,000, we don't have to, we just have to get a couple of, at least 2 quotes.
Is there any CARES money or any grants for ADA compliance or anything like that?
Commissioner, I am checking in to see if there are any ADA compliance grants available. In past years, there have been some here and there, and we'll find out if there's any that we can tap into for this. Keep in mind, this equipment is expensive because it has to, the lift component is, it's not like an elevator, but it's similar in that structure has to meet all the ADA requirements for weight variations, etc. Gates have to be appropriate. It has to go up and make sure that it's constant, doesn't create another safety issue in and of itself by its location, all of that. But we think we finally got that worked out, something that will work well.
Okay. Good.
But Greg, anytime you want to come and look at what we're talking about, with regard to this committee, come on up and let me know when you're going to be here, and I'll show you what we talked about.
Well, I was just hoping with all the rules and the regulations with the handicap, you bring your guy, I'd go with that. So I was thinking of a little cheaper way, but we'll just see what this comes out at and go from there.
And Commissioner, once we get the final product information, I'd be very happy to send that to you directly. I mean, we'll share it with the whole board, but even before we bring it to the board, be happy to share that.
I was just trying to save some money. So.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, half of the cost of something is the actual structure, and the other half is liability insurance to be prepared to, if something should happen. The cost of a lot of that stuff gets to be more than a person would think when you look at the amount of metal in it, and boom, the cost has got everything involved, engineering and so on. So it's the way it is.
But when you spread it out over many years, it's the life of it. Then it's minimal per year. So.
But it's up to start with. But like Tess was saying, what we talked about was the upper platform, extending it out towards the gallery so we can move the commissioner's table out. That accommodates the room for access to this upper platform from the ramp or from the lift, so that there's room to get up to the platform and move around on the platform.
Without any need for change of furniture,
Right.
Which would have been another cost. So we, on one hand, this, if we'd lowered the floor, the cost of all that construction plus then getting potentially a different desk set up or a ramp that goes out that impacts the seating area in the gallery, this seemed like the most logical approach to take.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Anything else from any of the commissioners? Is there any public comment? Anybody from the public have a comment before we go on, before we adjourn? I don't see anybody else on there, but. If not, we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded to adjourn. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
We are adjourned.